Today is episode 76 with Dr. B.
Welcome to the Living Beyond ADHD podcast. If you're looking for a fresh perspective and actionable steps on hot topics from focus to follow through to self-management and more, you are in the right place. Welcome your host, innovative educator, coach, and psychotherapist, Dr. B.
For those of you who don't know me yet, Albert Einstein is quoted as saying, "Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid." That was me, living the majority of my academic life believing I was stupid and chasing degrees to prove that I wasn't. The degrees never resolved the feelings, only accepting the truth did. I was smart, just differently. I wasn't broken. I didn't need fixing. I needed to understand what was great about me and build on that. I have, and so can you. The meaning that you give the events of your life is so important. They can either empower or destroy you. I did a great job of destroying my self-confidence and my self-worth with meanings that just weren't true. When we moved to a new town with a different kind of school system, I either needed to be moved forward half a grade to fourth grade or held back half a grade to repeat third grade. I was all for being advanced because I hoped that fourth grade would be more interesting than third. Unfortunately, my parents and the school decided that I should be held back because I was small for my age, and they felt it would be easier for me to fit in with those kids rather than the older kids. That was their reasoning and their decision. I wasn't consulted, just told. The meaning I gave that event was that I was stupid, not smart enough to be advanced. And that meaning stuck with me for years. As a teen, I started observing people a lot more, trying to understand more about life and personal interactions. When I looked at the adults in my life, I was really clear that I did not want to become part of what I called the walking dead. That's what I referred to them as. They showed no spark, no passion, day after day. If this was what becoming an adult was going to be, I didn't want any part of it. Adulting is defined as the practice of behaving in a way that's characteristic of a responsible adult, especially the accomplishment of mundane but necessary tasks. I didn't feel there was any playfulness or joy in adulting, according to that definition. Plus, the adults that I saw around me definitely weren't having fun or weren't joyful about their day-to-day tasks. That definitely wasn't going to work for me. And it probably doesn't work for many of you either. I decided that since I am the meaning maker of my life, just like you are, that I could define what adulting would be for me. And it definitely includes being playful, youthful, and having fun, all the while being a responsible, or rather response-able adult. I am an adult that is response-able, meaning able to respond, and so are you. You just need to know ways to transform the mundane into the extraordinarily playful, fun, and engaging experiences that you need them to be so that you can get your stuff done. I've successfully created an adult life according to my criteria, and so can you. Remember, we are feeling-driven adults and need our feelings to drive us forward, not hold us back. You may already know this, and it bears repeating. You are not alone. There are millions of adults all over the world with the same or similar struggles and gifts that you're experiencing. And let's compound the problem even more with giftedness, sensitivities, existential depressions, codependency, and underdeveloped executive function skills. That's a lot of factors impacting your life, and most of you have never been taught the tools to address any of these additional factors that are so prevalent in our lives. If you identify with any of the following, being a daydreamer, procrastinator, perfectionist, poor decision maker, underachiever, are unrealistic, unreliable, unmotivated or undermotivated, often late, forgetful, socially awkward, disorganized, impulsive, or live in the moment seemingly oblivious to life going on around you, then you're in the right place. You're also in the right place if you know yourself to be a daydreamer, bright, talented, creative, innovative, passionate, perfectionist, full of ideas and potential, and have lots of partially completed projects to your credit. Perhaps you even feel like a fake or a fraud, just lucky to have gotten this far in your life. You know, these common symptoms are just a sampling of the myriad of gifts and challenges an adult living with ADHD is facing, in addition to later in life diagnoses for so many women, and men too, because of the lack of training required for mental health professionals to even recognize, let alone address, the challenges that you experience, which can be significantly reduced or even eliminated, making room for your greatest gifts to be expressed in the world. I selfishly want to see or experience all of your amazing gifts once we get what's in the way resolved. You know, from my perspective, ADHD is a case of mistaken identity. You're not broken or stupid. You're sensitive, creative, curious, and live with an unharnessed power that takes you in lots of directions, sometimes all at once. You need tools and strategies. You need personal understanding and appreciation of who you are and what you've been going through, what's going on for you, so that you can learn to harness your ADHD power and live beyond ADHD. I understand that you might be feeling overwhelmed by the sheer number of things on your plate. I get it. Or frustrated and exhausted by your many attempts to resolve your problems. It all seems to take so much effort to just get started, let alone complete something. I get it. I do. Listen up. Your life is worth more than a quick fix with Band-Aid solutions. Using the same thinking that got you into this mess won't work. Neither will wishful thinking or fantasy thinking. Real problems deserve real solutions. You need to be well-informed and equipped with the tools to make a positive difference in the outcomes of your efforts. Otherwise, why bother? Success comes from building a strong foundation and continuing to practice the basics. Great baseball players practice batting. Great musicians practice scales. Great actors practice lines. It takes practice to generate success. You are the meaning maker of your life. Situations change when the meaning that you give them changes, and you change. You live in a human body, a sacred space that houses your mind, your heart, and your soul. You are given the choice to live fully, being mindful of your choices and self-care, or live limited, shackled by ignorance and immaturity. The essentials of your body, mind, and heart do not arrive fully trained or shaped into their most graceful and powerful resourceful state. Rather, you are tasked with guiding your essentials into their fullness. Minds are ever curious and attracted to the novel and immediate stimuli. You know that. Hearts long to connect and love. Bodies want to move and reach out and touch life. Your mind might feel disruptive and without loyalty to your daily needs. Your heart might be overly connected and looks for love in all the wrong places. Your body may be in motion all of the time to the point of sheer exhaustion, yet it doesn't feel good to live that way. Viktor Frankl said, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." Many of you are surprised when you hear from me so quickly and with a personal message to you as well. It's who I am, and it's how I live. I respond quickly when you reach out to me because time is one of those assets that can't be restored. When it's spent, you have one less day. And if you feel like your life is passing and you aren't achieving all that you want, then responding quickly is important. How much time do any of us have? Not all that much. Time doesn't stand still for any of us, whether we're ready to move forward or not. I learned long ago that I wanted to live ready for the unfolding of my life. I didn't want to have to pass on any more opportunities because I wasn't ready and I couldn't say yes when it was important to be able to do so. If my podcast is the first time that you've heard about executive function skills and strategies, you're not alone. If you're an adult who received a diagnosis of adult ADHD, executive function skills should also have been assessed and discussed with you, in my humble opinion. And if you're still waiting to get an assessment, whether that's weeks or months from now, the same is true. Unfortunately, the odds of getting that assessment are pretty small, just not part of what's done traditionally. And yet the odds of having executive function deficits along with ADHD are very high. In fact, almost a given that you will. It's just a matter of degrees. Today's episode is about transforming adulting so that it works well for those of us living with ADHD, as well as offering you hope, real hope. How much time do we have? Not much. So let's get to it. Today's important points are defining what adulting will be for you, so long as your definition achieves the needed outcome of being a responsible or response-able adult. And 2, 6 important concepts that have radically transformed my life and others who've applied these concepts.
This podcast is sponsored by Pure Potential with Dr. B. You can head over to drbarbaracohen.com and find the podcast transcript, great free content, plus information on programs and services, including the groundbreaking Adventures in Achievement online coaching program and one-to-one services with Dr. B. That's drbarbaracohen.com.
Now back to being an adult with ADHD or executive function challenges in today's world. I know there are many reasons why you haven't heard about underdeveloped executive function skills until listening to my podcast show, or haven't gotten diagnosed until much later in life. We can't change those facts. However, now that you know, you can get moving on what you're going to do about your deficits or underdevelopment, as well as make the most of your strengths, because there's plenty. I have stories to share with you, including action steps and a favorite quote of mine. But first, I want to talk about celebrating your wins, big and small, since wins are such an important part of my philosophy. Remember, what we pay attention to grows. So paying attention to what's right instead of what's wrong helps to generate more of what's right. Seems simple enough. And when you acknowledge and celebrate your wins with a full heart of appreciation and authenticity, you're giving yourself a priceless gift. No one else may feel excited about your wins, and that's okay for now, because living in awe of yourself and what you learn and love about you is critically important to your well-being. And if you want a safe space to celebrate you and your wins and more, be sure to reach out and join the Living Beyond ADHD Facebook group right away. It's a judgment-free, safe, supportive space to just be you, the human being, and celebrate you, what's right, as well as to get help for what's challenging to you. So what's it going to be for you today? What are you going to celebrate? Maybe you've begun to meditate 5 minutes every day. That's a great win. Perhaps you've taken on the life work of seeing yourself and your life with greater clarity so that you can make better decisions and adjust areas of your life that truly need it. That's a wonderful win. Perhaps someone criticized you this week and you were able to see it as their perspective and not necessarily your truth or reality. That's definitely a win. You get the point. Celebrate all of them, big and small. And none of this half-hearted celebrating. You've got to mean it. Exaggerate your emotions. Yes, wow, awesome. You want your acknowledgement and celebration to register in your neurology with the power to move you and shift your state. Many of us need a higher level of stimulation or intensity for things to register. That's just how some of us are built. So if that's you, give that to yourself and exaggerate your celebration so you can actually feel it. And listen, you're not broken or defective or less than. You're you. You have gifts and talents that you may not think much of, like you're really great at playing the guitar or packing a vehicle for a camping trip, because these talents aren't paying the bills. I get it. And yet these are things that are really great about you and need to be appreciated and celebrated. You are a precious human being whose value is a given, because I'm not talking about you as the human doing that most of society views you as, and especially in this challenging world experience that we're all living with right now. It's true that you may be missing some skills or many skills that have been making your life very difficult up to now, and yet skills can be learned. I'm not making light of your struggles or unhappiness, not at all. I want you to know that there are answers to your struggles. If you're willing to be a student of your own life and develop a deeper understanding of yourself and how you're put together, and offer yourself a lot of compassion and patience, plus the time, effort, and energy it's going to take to make the necessary changes, these things can happen for you. I know this is true because my students are learning skills that they've been missing most of their life, and it's amazing to share in the transformation of their thinking and behaviors and their aha moments. So please, don't let yourself be one of the 80% of people who don't ever make it to more permanent change, or even the 80% who want to change, but never actually end up making the changes that they want for many different reasons. There's training and support available to you to ensure, to the best of my ability, that you don't become one of the 80% who don't make it. Rather, that you are one of the 20% who do. Let's transition to some stories and action steps now. Our first story is about Linda and how she defined and developed her adulting life so that she played to her strengths and was still a responsible adult, as well as action steps that you can take to start developing your own adulting life. Linda was in her mid-40s and recently diagnosed with adult ADHD. Her life was a mess. Behind in filing her taxes for 3 years, always paid her bills late despite having the funds to pay them on time, never on time for anything, no consistent system for living her life, and she was amazed that she made it to her 40s without things being actually much, much worse. Her ADHD medication didn't make a dent in these adulting challenges, which was hugely disappointing to her. If she didn't have to deal with this mundane adulting stuff, her life was really great. She had lots of creative interests that she enjoyed. She did well in her job because it was highly structured for her, and the expectations were clear for her role in the company. Plus, she had an assistant. It was just the adulting stuff that bored her and kept getting pushed aside for more interesting activities and engaging time with friends. Some background facts about adulting. Again, adulting is defined as the practice of behaving in a way that's characteristic of a responsible adult, especially the accomplishment of mundane but necessary tasks. Pay attention to the word practice, the practice of behaving. It isn't like you just do it. You practice behaving in a particular way. The big picture goal for adulting is that we are able to behave responsibly, which I see as response-able, and accomplish the necessary tasks of our life in a timely fashion. Beyond that, it's up to each and every one of us to determine what responsible or response-able is our criteria and how we can shift our perception of those tasks to actually enjoy doing them, which is a state change. If you relate to Linda's story, your action steps are focus on how are you going to define being a responsible or response-able adult, and will your definition work well for you and whoever else is directly impacted by your life choices? How can you make bill paying fun or cleaning your home fun? How can you reframe mundane tasks into enjoyable ones? How can you shift your attitude from resistance to playfulness so you have a fun time accomplishing your tasks? These are 3 things to ask yourself and to focus on. For follow-through, determine your criteria for adulting and make sure to set up for fun before you start any task that you use to view as mundane. Take what you decided for a test drive by putting your criteria into action. Make sure it gives you the feelings that you need to have fun while you're accomplishing it. So again, following through on determining your criteria, which is everything that you need to have in place, the rules, the guidelines. That's how I think of criteria for adulting. And be sure that you set it up for fun so that you need to first focus on how you're going to make these things fun. And then take it for a test drive. You want to find out what you put together is or isn't right for you. It's really important to take this test drive. And then third is self-management. You need to really watch out for the 2-year-old inside of you that doesn't want to play this game. You need to find out how to engage him or her in this playfulness. You might find that the 2-year-old inside of you is really receptive, or you might find that they totally take a stand, stomp their feet, and refuse to play. You also want to make sure that you're emotionally committed to this new way of adulting. It's really important to be all in. And you want to resolve any conflicts within yourself as quickly as possible if any should arise. so that any setbacks that you have, if you have them, are brief and you get yourself moving forward again pretty quickly. Those are the three things: focus on, follow through on, and self-management. Transitioning to our next story about the 6 important concepts that have radically transformed my life and others who apply these concepts as well. The first is stand for something every day. Every day I know that I move from lying in my bed to standing up on the floor. So I had this idea that I could stand for something as I stand and affirm something aloud when I stood up each and every day. And whether that was to declare that I was going to stand for compassion or justice or keeping my word or whatever value or ideal that I wanted to stand for that day, that I needed to strengthen or I wanted to strengthen, that's the first thing that I started to do. Then I would look for opportunities in the course of the day to see where I could actually do these things and then review at the end of the day for accountability to myself of where the evidence is that I stood for that, whatever it is that I had decided to stand for that day. My question to you: what will you stand for every day, and how will you start implementing this in your life? The second concept is clarifying my goals. I have detailed criteria to know precisely what my goal is. I spell it out. What do I need to see or know about my goal, and to know that I'm actually achieving it, that I can monitor the task, the goal, the project, and know that it's going the way that I want it to. My question to you: what are your criteria for your goals, stated with clarity and details? The third concept is daily consistency. Yeah, I know, not something we're well known for, but this is something you can train yourself to be great at. I know it's essential to take even a baby step every day, and my baby steps all add up to my goal achievement, just like you. I get to celebrate that baby step every day because I know it's all going to add up, even if it's something small. My question to you: what will it take for you to practice consistency every day? And mind you, I know that you're probably not consistent right now, and I also know you can learn to be consistent, as many of my students have learned to be consistent about many different things in their day-to-day living. So what will it take you to practice consistency every day? Fourth concept: be willing to go to any lengths to achieve my goals. This I borrow from recovery. It means I don't quit, I don't stop. Even if I don't know how, I reach out, I ask for help to find out what's possible for me. But there's no quitting. I ask myself questions like, how can I achieve this goal? What are the options? What are my options? So my question to you: what are you willing to go to any lengths for? Are you willing to go to any lengths for your life to transform in ways that perhaps you'd only hoped for but never really believed were possible? Are you willing to go to any lengths to have that life? I did, and I would love it to help you if that's what you're willing to go to any lengths for. The fifth concept is keep your word to yourself. This one's important because it has to do with my values and living in integrity. I don't say it if I know that it isn't going to happen to the best of my ability. If I say it's going to happen, it's going to happen, even if I have to work later, even if I have to work on a day that I don't typically work. Whatever I have to do to keep my word is me going to any lengths to keep my word. I see keeping my word as a pledge or a vow with myself. And something even more important than that is I'm training my brain to trust me and believe me, so that when I say I'm going to do something, My brain, my mind knows that it's true and it's actually going to happen, especially having a history of so many times of saying it and it doesn't happen. And I can imagine that's true for many of you. So my question to you, what will you do to consistently keep your word to yourself? How will you ensure that that's going to happen? And the sixth concept, personal time for reflection. At the end of the day, I review the day and I ask myself how I did with these concepts. I make note of any insights, realizations, things that I can use to improve on for tomorrow. My question to you, what is the value of reflecting time for you? Do you make that time? Do you take that time? Do you think it's a waste of your time? I'm curious. Remember that no matter what you identify with in this episode, you need to cultivate a practicing mindset and set time every day to practice these new ideas and skills. This doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be boring. You can make it fun. You can make it playful. Make games out of these things so that you can look forward to practicing new stuff. A favorite quote of mine, Alexander Graham Bell said, "When one door closes, another door opens, but we often look so long and so regretfully upon the closed door that we do not see the ones that open for us." So the question I have for you at this point of our journey together is, are you longing for what was, so much so that you're missing what can be? I hope you will allow yourself to release any regret about the closed door so that you can fully embrace the doors that are opening for you, even now. That's about it for today's episode about the 6 important concepts that can radically transform your life, as well as making adulting fun and playful. I'd love to know how my show is helping you. You can do that by rating the show and writing a brief, thoughtful review on iTunes. The more ratings and reviews, the more exposure that the show gets to help those who need this content as well. With increased ratings and reviews, it also helps me in my mission to put an end to the needless suffering in the world from underdeveloped executive function skills that are rampant in adults with ADHD, depression, anxiety, trauma, addictions, and chronic illnesses. Listening to every podcast episode is a small action step and something that can help you to move your life forward one episode at a time, if you take action on the steps I include for you. If you just listen and you hear the value, but you don't take action, you're not going to gain the value that's there for you. There's no way to have a knowing without experience, without taking action and getting the result that you get from the actions you take. Remember, for things to change for the better for you, you have to change, which means that you need to do your best every day to do something that'll lead you in the direction of your destination. Part of what I love about the growing communities of Living Beyond ADHD Facebook group and the Adventures in Achievement programs is the support that members are receiving from one another. Years ago, I conceived of something I called the ADD Squad. The idea for the ADD Squad was an outgrowth of my growing up years watching the TV show Little House on the Prairie, where it didn't seem to matter whose barn burned down. The town rallied and raised a new barn so that family could be okay. I've always felt that the world might be a much better place if we viewed each other that way. In other words, seeing the needs of others and reaching out as a community to help one another because we can, rather than just thinking of our own needs. In the case of my online program, The reaching out has been the sharing of knowledge, support, and time to help one another, and it's amazing to be a part of. We are not alone in this life of ours. We are all interconnected in such unique and mysterious ways, and we can see that even more so by developing our executive function skills and strategies. Whether you're learning from my podcast episodes or live videos or working with me directly, you're in my world, and I'm here to serve your needs. So be sure to reach out and get your needs met. It's up to you to take action so things can change for you. And definitely make it a priority to join the Facebook group Living Beyond ADHD. You won't regret it. I've got something special coming up for the group later in June that I think that you'll want to be a part of. It means a lot to me to know that your life is getting a little bit better every time we get together. So be sure to check out the show notes for free content and ways that we can work together. You will find solutions to the challenges that you're experiencing, and I would love to help you realize a new freedom. That is, if that's of interest to you. Thanks for listening. Until the next time, bye for now.
Thanks for your undivided attention. If you're eager to make positive changes in your life, head over to drbarbaracohen.com to see how Dr. B can help you today. Whether you love making changes with community support in a group environment or prefer one-to-one coaching or psychotherapy, you'll find all the information you need to get started at drbarbaracohen.com.